rolling. He's going to throw. It is caught and a touchdown. And it's McBride.
LPO, and there it is. It's McBride. Trey McBride.
On the move, Trey McBride still trucking. He's going to score a touchdown for Colorado State.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very special NFL Draft edition of Stay Hot, where we're going to be sitting down with top-notch NFL draft prospects, diving into their college careers, their hopes, their excitement for the NFL, and much more. Today, we are joined by Mackey Award-winning tight end from Colorado State, Trey McBride. Trey, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
To start this off, I think we've kind of started all these interviews with some like icebreakers or just kind of not personal questions, but questions about like a background. And we did some digging. We tried to figure out like some interesting stuff. And we learned that you worked on a farm or grew up on a farm with a bunch of animals and everything. So what were some of the pets that you had growing up, or some of the animals you were working with growing up? Because it seemed like quite the extensive list.
Yeah, no, it's very, very unique. You know, growing up, being able to be around all these animals and stuff. We had any animal you can think of. You know, my family breeds dogs, so we had a ton of dogs. But you know, we had emus, which are kind of like ostriches. We had goats. We had llamas, ducks, pigs. I mean, you name it, we had it. Miniature horses, we had it all. So it was like a little farm out there. It was a lot of fun.
Why did you have emus? Like, what is this? Do you collect their eggs, or is it just for fun?
Well, where we are, there's a lot of coyotes and stuff. So they're supposed to, the llamas and stuff are supposed to keep the coyotes away from the dogs. And the emus, I honestly don't know. I think it's just kind of one of those things we just did because why not, you know?
Because why not? Were they mean? I feel like they'd be mean. There's this lady on TikTok who keeps emus, and they're always like charging at her. Did you ever like suffer any like emu related like injury or incident?
No, they were never a huge fan of us. They loved my mom, but for us, they didn't really care for us too much.
Did you have a favorite animal on the farm or anything?
We had horses, which was awesome, to go feed the horses and things like that. That was a lot of fun, but we had just about every animal you could think of.
Okay. Well, I worked on a farm too. I worked on a berry farm for a couple of years, so I think that really bonds us. I'm actually wearing the shirt right now. Hard work though. That probably got you ready. Did you like grow any crops or anything, or was it mostly just like just a big property with a lot of animals? Just
a big property with a lot of animals, but there was a lot of farming and stuff around us, so all of us would do that in the summers and stuff for work.
Gets you in good shape. Gets you in good shape for the season and everything. Yeah. I'm sure that helped out.
No doubt.
All right.
Yeah, I know a lot of people sticking with your upbringing and childhood. A lot of people, when they start playing football, are pushed by their fathers or coaches, and sometimes their fathers are their coaches, to play football. What role did your parents play in your football development?
Truthfully, you know, my parents just let us do whatever we wanted to do. They were very supportive of what we wanted to do. They initially put us into sports, at an early age to get our energy out. You know, as four boys, we were always beating each other up, causing a lot of havoc and stuff around the house. So our parents threw us into sports to try to get us to burn our energy, and that's what we did. But we kind of just fell in love with it. It wasn't really forced upon us. Just kind of fell in love with the sport and wanted to keep playing.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, in high school, you played baseball, football, basketball. At what point did you decide that football was the route that you were going to go, and what made you decide that?
You know, I probably knew like sophomore, junior year, this is what I wanted to do. You know, I really was very fortunate. I had the opportunity to go play baseball, basketball, football, whatever I wanted to do in college at a really high level. But I ultimately decided I want to be a tight end. I wanted to play football, and that's where my passion and love was. And that's what I decided to do. I wanted to be a football player.
Did you have like D1 baseball, basketball offers on the table like you did at Colorado State?
I had like smaller FCS schools that I could have went and played baseball, basketball at as well. But ultimately, I wanted to be a football player, and that's what I did. I played football.
What positions were you at baseball and basketball?
In basketball, I was like the big man. You know, being from a smaller place, I was kind of the bigger guy. So, but really, I kind of did a little bit of everything in basketball. And baseball, growing up my whole life, I was a catcher, but then towards the end of my career, I became a first baseman. But really love both those sports. I think it really helps with the enhancement and development into being a football player as well.
For sure.
I was just going to say, I know a lot of people, try and just go strictly one sport in high school, but I'm a big advocate for being multi-sport. I think it's really important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think playing multiple sports really helps you develop in other sports, the hand-eye coordination in baseball and bringing that over to football. Just all the little things that you bring from other sports really, they go hand in hand with each other.
Especially like basketball and tight end, you see basically like a bunch of the dominant tight ends in the NFL played basketball, even up to like the college level. So like boxing out and all that kind of stuff is like important as well. Yeah, for sure.
You also used to wrestle in high school as well. What was your go-to wrestling move?
So I wrestled. All my brothers were really good wrestlers. I wrestled up until high school. Once I got into high school, that's when I transitioned to strictly basketball. But I did love wrestling. All my brothers still today want to wrestle. But I kind of just went with like a little single leg. That's kind of what I did. But I was just a little bigger, stronger than everyone I usually wrestled. So that's why I quit doing it, because everyone was a little bit better than me at that sport. I had to move to basketball, but I loved it, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, wrestling's interesting.
You talk about being like a little bit bigger than everybody, and I always think it's interesting, like, because I'm not an NFL athlete, and we always used to play like sports at recess or just like in general, like with friends, like in the backyard or whatever. And I'm thinking of like, I'm not that good at it, but I still think I had some like crazy recess highlights, some crazy like stat lines. Like if as a future like NFL player, like what is your like ultimate like elementary school football high? Like what were you doing to kids like in like middle school when none of the cameras were there, like in a gym class? Like what was like your greatest feat of athleticism in like middle school gym?
No, that was a lot of fun for sure. Like, I just remember all my buddies and stuff, we would all go out and play, whether it was football. A lot of us actually played soccer. That's what we did at recess, just because that's what everybody did. That's where all the groups were. And it was just, so I just remember kicking the ball all the way across the field, playing goalie, because it was like the most challenging, trying not to, give up a goal in recess, whatever the case may be. But it was so much fun. I just remember kicking the ball across the field. And everyone was so impressed. It was so fun, though.
we had played kickball a lot in elementary school. That was like our main like thing was kickball. Yeah. And there was a kid named Jim Vitito who always could kick it super far. And he didn't go to like play college athlete or anything like that. So like playing with you, I don't know if I would have played kickball if I was like was playing with anybody who could like kick it across a soccer field. But yeah, no, that must have been fun.
Moving on to some football stuff. Being a tight end, it's a super versatile and demanding position. I feel like, you have to be a good blocker and good at catching. Which one is your favorite? And I feel like you're going to give me a very PC answer. I like both. So you're not allowed to do that. You have to pick one.
Obviously, like, I love both aspects of it. I think that's what makes being a tight end so unique. But I truthfully, like, I love the blocking part of it. I think it's the gritty, the nasty physicality part of it, that, putting your hand in the ground and you versus another guy one-on-one who's tougher, stronger, better than that person on that rep is just kind of cool. And I think, obviously scoring touchdowns, all the glory and stuff behind that. But truthfully, just like you beating a man one-on-one, there's just something about that's special, so. I really enjoy the blocking part.
Got to get a pancake every now and then,
Yeah, no doubt.
And, you talk about your favorite play you've made in like elementary school. What has been your favorite play that you've made in your career thus far? And would that be a blocking play, or is it scoring a touchdown?
I mean, yeah, I obviously have some pancakes that I could go back and remember, but truthfully, I think the coolest thing was scoring my first touchdown in the swamp. We played the Florida Gators in the swamp. I'm 17, 18 years old. I scored like a 70-yard touchdown. I think that was probably like the coolest thing to me. Just there was like 100,000 people there. It was just a really cool thing when you're that young kid going into a hostile environment and scoring a touchdown. Right. It's pretty cool.
That had to have been really surreal.
What kind of play was it? How did that play happen? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was a 2x2s. We were about midfield, a little bit on our side of the field, so it was about a 60-yard touchdown. But they ran cover two, so the two safeties went off the hashes, and the middle of the field was wide open. I ran kind of like a seam right in the middle of the field, broke two tackles, and it was just really cool. I just remember it was like a 70-yard touchdown, and it was so surreal. I was like shocked. I didn't know what happened. It just kind of happened so fast. It was really cool though.
Colorado State has had a lot of pass catchers as far as how big they are, and when it comes to the NFL draft. And Michael Gallup, Higgins, Williams all came out of there. What do you think they do that allows them to have so many NFL level pass catchers? Is there something there that you think has helped your development and helped their development?
I think it's just there's a lot of really good people. I think the coaches trust and believe in their guys, and truthfully, the Fort Collins is just a special place. It's a great environment. There's a lot of really good people. The coaches are great, and the facilities we have are second to none. So it's a great place to be. But truthfully, I think it's just a blue collar spot where guys come in, they work hard, and good things happen to them. So that's kind of what I credit it to.
Let's see. Have you been working with anybody in the NFL? Like, have you had contact with any NFL guys, any of those guys? Maybe you went to CSU, or any NFL tight ends that you've been training with in this off season to prepare yourself for the combine or the draft or whatever. Have you had any contact with some guys at the next level?
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of people that I can lean on for advice. There's some former NFL guys, Joel Dreesen, a tight end from my hometown who played there at Colorado State. Really talked to him a lot. Former NFL guys, Preston Williams, Michael Gallup, guys like that I can lean on. And then truthfully, there's so many guys I train with. I train with a bunch of NFL guys. So there's so many guys that I can just ask a question, lean on them, guys from my agency, guys all over. So it's really so cool to have those guys that are in your corner and are wanting to help you out and give you great advice so you can succeed and not, maybe take a wrong turn.
What's the best advice that one of those guys has given you? Is there anything that like sticks out that is like, oh yeah, that I wouldn't have thought about that otherwise?
I think the main thing is keep the main thing. Like, you're there to play football and don't let things get in the way of doing your job. Like at the end of the day, you got to do your job. It doesn't matter what everyone else wants from you or things like that. You got to get your job done. So just kind of staying the course and being humble and things like that will always take you to the right way.
For sure. And when you're watching film, I've been asking, we've interviewed a couple prospects, and this is something I always enjoy hearing about, like the film watching process for you. Like, how much time do you spend like watching yourself and maybe balancing that with watching your opponent and watching other guys like around or either in the NFL or other peers in college? Like, how much time do you spend watching film, and how do you divide that up? And does that change from like the off season to the regular season, or how does that process work for you?
Yeah, obviously that's going to change, week to week, season to season. But, typically in the season, you're watching a lot of opponent film. You're trying to see, obviously you're watching all your practices, seeing what you did right and wrong, your footwork, hand placement, all that stuff on your practices. But then you're seeing, what are your defensive ends? What do they do? What are some keys that they're going to give you so you can beat them? And, what are things that they do really good that you can, try to counter, things like that. So really watching them and trying to see what they do. And then obviously watching other, great tight ends, watching NFL guys, watching different tight ends in college and seeing what they do and trying to take, different tools from them and use it in your own game. So obviously that's something that you're going to be doing a lot, but it changes week to week on how you divide it up. But definitely things that happen every week. Absolutely.
For sure.
And is there anyone that you've been watching in the NFL right now that you feel like you want to emulate or feel like that you've been basing your game a lot off of?
I mean, yeah, there's so many great tight ends right now and so many different guys that do things, very well. Obviously Travis Kelce catches the ball very well, but then you got guys like George Kittle who really are complete tight ends who can do a lot in the run game, be a physical asset in the run game, but also go and, catch touchdowns for you. So a guy like him is someone who I really model my game around and try to be a complete guy like him. But, there's Mark Andrews. I mean, there's really so many great tight ends right now that you could really take tools and little nuggets from.
I see. Are you wearing your shirt from the Combine, the number 13 Combine shirt right now?
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
That's drippy for sure. But when you're at the Combine, obviously you were meeting with teams, and this is another question I've asked some of the other guys, but I always love hearing about it. Like, what were some of the questions? Did you get any like weird questions from NFL teams at the Combine? Did they try to like throw you off your game at all? I keep hearing about like how prospects go into these meetings and like the NFL teams will just ask them the weirdest stuff. Did you get that experience at all?
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard of that happening, but I was very fortunate. I met with 10 different NFL teams, and I didn't get any curveballs or anything like that. They were all pretty straightforward questions and all mostly about football. So didn't really get any curveballs, but I have heard some crazy things of where teams will do some different things and try to catch you off guard.
What is that process like? I mean, not outside of the crazy things, like what are the kinds of things that they ask you? And like, do they show just like bad plays or some good or a mix of both? Or is it just like trying to know you personally and asking about like your family or whatnot? Like what does a typical NFL interview look like at the Combine?
I mean, yeah, each interview is very different. So it's hard to go, it's hard to be as, stereotypical as you can, but it's very different. But, typically sometimes they'll teach you a play, it's usually about a 20-25 minute interview. They'll teach you a play right when you get in there. Sometimes they'll teach you 2 or 3 plays, and then they'll kind of push it to the side. They'll start asking you questions. How's your family? Tell me about your childhood. What's your strengths, weaknesses, whatever. They'll just kind of get some basic information out of you. And then, then you'll watch some film. There'll be some great plays up there. There'll be some plays where you messed up and you've seen the play before because obviously you've messed up and everyone knows you messed up and they're asking you, why did you mess up? What were you thinking? Trying to get what was going through your mind out of you and, what coverage are you seeing? They want to see how good of a football player you are and how knowledgeable you are. And then typically, at the end of the meeting, after your mind's been elsewhere, they'll try to have you teach back those plays that they taught you when they first. So they'll teach you a play, and then 30 minutes later they'll have you reteach it to them to see how much you can retain and things like that. So that's probably a pretty typical 25-minute or so interview with the NFL team. But then there's the head coach, the GM, the tight ends coach, the offense, all those guys are in there too. So it's a little more nerve-wracking than just going in there talking to anybody.
How good of a job did you do on regurgitating those plays back at the coaches?
Yeah, I think I did a great job. A lot of the plays, they're very similar. A lot of teams run very similar plays, things like that. So everything's very similar. It's probably something that you've seen before in your time, just a lot of different terminology and things like that. So that's probably the different part, but it's probably a play you've seen before that you can draw up. But, they usually don't let you take notes, but they just want to see how much you can retain and things like that. But as long as you know most of it, you'll be all right.
So are these teams kind of like talking to you about what their scouting report is on you, like what they think your strengths and weaknesses are, or do they just want to know what you think of yourself?
Usually they just want to know what you think of yourself and they would just want to know about you as a person and they're about to invest a lot of money into you. So they just want to know what kind of person you are and who you are outside of football and, what do you do in your free time? Just every little thing about you, they want to know.
Do you ever go and look at your scouting reports? Have you looked at any of them online or seen anything about that?
I mean, obviously you see them and you see your strengths and weaknesses and things like that. And I don't look at every single one of them, but I have, obviously peeked at a few. Yeah.
Did you notice anything like when you'd go and look at them and you'd see something in the weakness column and maybe disagree with it or think like that's not one of my weaknesses?
Oh yeah. Sometimes you see that and it, gets you frustrated, but at the same time, it's like, there's a million people and everyone's going to have a different opinion on you. So, you just kind of got to be that guy and do everything you can to be the best player you can. And not everyone's going to like you and not everyone's going to hate you. So you just kind of got to, that's just how it is.
For sure. One other thing that we were told was you're quite a bit of a trash talker on the field. Is that a fair assessment or is that just getting made up?
I'm sure that's probably fair to say. I mean, it's just kind of when you're in the heat of the moment and you make a good play, you hoop and holler sometimes, and it's maybe a fair statement. Who knows?
So it's not something that you strategize. You don't. Are you trying to like get in their head, or is it like a strategy, or is it just something like I just did something sick and you're gonna have to hear about it?
Yeah, it's usually just I did something sweet and it was probably on you, so you're gonna hear about it. But no, nothing that I like. I don't look up their girlfriend's name or any, things like that.
You're not Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything crazy like that. No, I'm not that interested in it. I just sometimes, as a competitor in the heat of the moment, you just kind of get hoop and holler sometimes, and that's just how it is.
Did you know anybody who would do that? Did you have any like teammates that maybe took it a little bit too far, or is that just kind of a story, like stories that you've heard?
I've definitely heard things like that, but I don't know anybody personally. I think we had a defensive lineman actually that would do stuff like that, but I never really, I never knew anybody like personally that I was super close with that would do things like that. It's kind of funny though.
It is. Are you going to, as a rookie in the NFL, do you think you'll continue that, or are the guys there a little bit like as a rookie and maybe some NFL vets? So do you think you'll maybe tone it down a little bit until maybe you're
yeah, who knows? Yeah, I'll probably tone it down. Obviously, yeah. It's but who knows? And you're in the heat of the battle. Sometimes it just happens. So we'll see.
You talked a lot about working with a lot of different guys and stuff like that. Is there anyone who you're looking forward to like doing a jersey swap with after a game? Is there somebody on that list where you're like, I really want to get their jersey?
I mean, obviously, there's these great tight ends that you grow up watching and being, around Travis Kelce and George Kittle, guys like that would be super special. And, even doing a jersey swap with guys like that would be awesome. But just kind of meeting those guys that you grow up watching, the Brett Favres, the Tom Brady's, these iconic guys that have been playing for so long, you want to, go and shake hands with them and things like that. So that'll be very cool in that aspect. But I'm just excited for the whole thing and just to meet a lot of new people and, jersey swap with whoever wants it. So
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we head out, we have a few rapid fire questions to ask you, and it's just off the dome. First thing that comes to your head. Don't think too hard about it.
All right,
it's just all fun.
Hit
so
me
first one, your biggest fear, just something that absolutely terrifies you.
I think spiders. I'm scared of spiders, and I'm also scared of the dark. So you get a little bit of both. Not scared of the dark, but like hate being in like dark places, things like that. But you get spiders and dark. I mean, that's not a good place.
It's
for
wraps.
It's also a bad combination on I think a big
it's,
space like a farm. I would imagine there's a lot of like bugs and sheds and spiders there. Yeah, and darkness and old like tool places. Yeah.
All right. Next one, the first purchase when you get your first NFL paycheck.
Oh, that's tough. I'm probably going to get like a car, a nice car that can, take me from point A to point B. Nothing too crazy, but I'll probably get me a nice car that'll last me a little while.
Do you have any idea of what kind of car you'd want?
No, and I think that depends on where I go and what kind of environment I'm going to be in.
True.
Whether I can get like a car or if I need like a damn pickup to get me out of the snow. We'll see.
Yeah, if you're in Cleveland, man, you might need a big SUV.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see where that all depend on the environment I'm in.
It's funny. Even if you go to a warm place, you should get a place with a car with four-wheel drive. Because I'm in Arizona, and we went up to Flagstaff, me and a friend, and it's ended up snowing there, and they were in their two-wheel drive like Golf, and they had no experience snow driving, and they just were too scared. I had to drive them out. So even if you go to like a cold, no one in a warm place knows how to drive. It'll be like sleet outside. It won't even be snowing. It'll just be like cold rain,
right.
And they will freak out. So like, I think a four-wheel drive and just like is a good place anywhere, just because like anywhere in a warm location. They don't know how to drive. They don't know how to drive in any kind of weather.
All right. We used to ask people what their celebrity crush was, but a lot of it has seemed to be like most people can't think of one. So we're going to go with a celebrity that you would most want to meet.
I think someone I'd want to meet would be like LeBron or someone like that. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to spend the day with LeBron or Drake or somebody, of that status. But that would be pretty cool, in my opinion.
Is LeBron better than Jordan all time? Do you have ahead of Jordan all time on your list?
I being a LeBron guy and being in the era of him, I would have to go with, he's the greatest. But, the people that were in the Jordan era will probably disagree. So it's hard to name one guy, but I think he's the greatest in my opinion.
I think we all think that's a good take here on the Stay Hot podcast. I think we're all LeBron fans here.
It is a great take. That is a great take. Well, actually, who do you think is the greatest tight end of all time?
Ooh, that's tough. There's Gonzalez was a great tight end. That's a tough one. I'd probably have to go with Gonzalez because of he kind of really changed the game early on and things like that. But there's been a lot of really good ones, so it's hard to pick one.
Tony G's a great take.
Yeah.
Next one, your favorite movie.
I think Step Brothers is a classic. Will Ferrell, and you can never go wrong with that one. So that's a classic one for me.
All right, fair enough.
Any Adam Sandler movie though, too, that's tough, man.
Adam Sandler's hilarious.
You get the Happy Gilmore; those movies are great too. So I'm a comedian, comedy, guy. So you find a funny movie, I'm in.
Fair enough. And then one more. We have a bit here about ice cream. So your favorite ice cream flavor?
My favorite ice cream flavor, probably like an Oreo, but with like white ice cream, not like a chocolate ice cream. I need like a vanilla ice cream with like little Oreo chunks. Can never go wrong with that.
I guess that's fair. What are your thoughts on lemon ice cream?
I've never had it, but not.
It doesn't sound good, right? It doesn't sound good.
No.
If someone were to have it in their top 3 ice creams of all time, you would think they're a little crazy for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've never had it. I'm not knocking it, but it doesn't sound crazy appealing.
Prospect grade has gone down. That is tough. Well, that pretty much wraps up our questions for you. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck in the draft and in the NFL. We can't wait to see, what all the great things that you're going to do. Shout out to Wasserman Talent for connecting us with these amazing prospects. And again, thanks you all for watching. Tons and tons of content coming to all platforms. We will catch you all on the flippity flop.